Avenue, and then we'll take it higher.
The Game Sports Show is pleased to shout out a partner, additional home, and sponsor to Northern Superior Brewing Company, located on 50 Pym Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Northern Superior Brewing Company having a strong presence locally with many beers to offer. With much involvement in the community of Sault Ste. Marie, Northern has a sport and friendly-like atmosphere within its tap room, and during the summer months, it is a must to visit Pier 55 to enjoy some delicious food, amazing view of the water, and view of the Bush Pulling Museum, right on the cusp of the Hub Trail, and of course, all of that down with a delicious brew from Northern Superior. Northern Superior Brewing Company. It's a northern thing.
Booyah! And it's time for the Game Sports Show, the Twin Soo's only local, regional, and national sports show. You're listening to the Game Sports Show on thegamesportshow.com, thegamesportshow.podbean.com, or through the Scott Nason YouTube channel. You may have also been directed here through our Facebook page at the Game Sports Show, or even through our Instagram page at the Game Sports Show SSM. Either way, we're very happy that you're able to join us here tonight live from Northern Superior Brewing Company in Sault Ste. Marie for our Thursday edition of the Game Sports Show, January the 24th, 2019. I'm here alongside Dane Hanchrow and Justin Hykel, my usual co-host here on the Northern Superior Brewing Company edition. I'm going to get to the fellows in just a few moments and go through the usual introduction portion here on the Game Sports Show. If you're accessing the show through our website and or the Podbean page or the YouTube channel, as I mentioned, don't hesitate to scroll down and look at the previous shows. Last night, myself, Justin Hykel, and Jamie Antonello were at Sports Center Bar and Grill for our famous In the Pocket segment and some roundtable discussions about the NBA and about what athlete that we would sue in terms of the non-enjoyment in our life that took away enjoyment. Dave definitely got to take a look at that one as Dane looks at me puzzled over here and wondered, why didn't I get a chance to look at that? Don't be like Dane and not hear that part. Very good segment from the boys last night from Sports Center Bar and Grill. And also earlier this week, myself, Scott Nason, EJ Russell, and Butch Davis were live at The Wicked Sister. I was there for the second hour, but it's a full 2-hour show where it's live for the first hour on Eagle 95.1, and then the second hour was podcasted online. I joined despite being ill with the flu, and it was a great show there as always with the boys, and now being here on Thursday with Justin and Dane. We also have another show coming up this week from IceBreakers on Sunday, as we plan to be at IceBreakers at 8 o'clock. We did not have a show this week at IceBreakers this past Sunday or Tuesday, so we apologize to the listeners. We'll definitely make up for it this upcoming Sunday. It's planned to be myself, Brad Cochimilio, and one of, or both, Justin and Dane will be on location there with me at IceBreaker Sports Bar and Grill. Here on the Thursday edition of the Northern Superior Brewing Company edition of the Game Sports Show, we're going to be talking about the National Hockey League. It's going to be invaded with a lot of Edmonton Oilers discussion, Toronto Maple Leaf discussion, a little All-Star Game discussion, a little bit of Alexander Ovechkin talk, and some variety of NHL talk. But we're going to get started with the show in just a few moments, going through the usual recap of the local hockey scene here in terms of upcoming games and schedules for your interest going into the weekend. And also just a quick little recap of the scores last weekend with the respective local sports teams. And then after we conclude our hockey discussion, both locally and professionally, if we have time, we're going to be jumping into some MLB 3-up, 3-down with myself discussing the latest news in the Major League Baseball before we conclude tonight's show. Without further ado, let's bring in the boys. The guy who's right beside me right now, it's a man to my right now, wearing all gray. Always talking about the apparel in his introduction. And the guy who actually got voted the winner of a beard contest, actually, for River Rock. I'll get you to say that in a second, Justin, to get the clarification on that and the confirmation. But, Justin, how you doing, sir?
Not too bad. Still going to bitch about the snow like I did yesterday, based on the fact that it has not stopped coming down. But the beer here is making it better. That's for sure.
The beer is great, as Dane and Justin are sipping on some red maple, and yours truly is sipping on some Heffenweiss and Northern Superior Brewing Company product. You got to come down to Northern Superior Brewing Company and look at the great beers that they have available for you to choose. And this beautiful little tap room here. You got the big projector with the hockey game on, or any sport of your desire, and obviously you get to meet the staff of Northern Superior Brewing Company and the brewmaster, the guy who's behind all the fantastic brewing of the beer, Blake Winter. Just fantastic job for sure. The guy in front of me actually dressed up a little bit more nicely tonight for a first and a change. And also my roommate, and also an Edmonton Oilers fan, who I know will have a lot to say here tonight on tonight's edition of the game. Daner, how you doing, pal?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for commenting on my attire. And yeah, life's good. Just enjoying this wonderful red maple beer in this fancy beer glass that Blake has given us today. So yeah, it's a special night when we got fancy glasses at Northern Superior Brewing Company here.
may as well feel like you should drink with your pinky up, or what's that when you might know this more, that London, England, they drink with the pinky up,
Yes,
right? Is that
the queen drinks her tea with her pinky out.
Well, so you should probably have it up when you drink. That looks extremely fancy for sure. The red maple, they're delicious. There it is, as Dane sips with his pinky up. Fellas, we got a great show to get into, so we're going to dive right into it. Make sure that if you're listening to the Game Sports Show on the Podbean page or through social media at all, don't hesitate to follow us on either platform. Can't forget to mention that we have our like giveaway contest. We have gift certificate and prizes from Northern Superior Brewing Company, gift certificate and prizes from Sports Center Bar and Grill, and all our other sponsors who are chipping in for prizes, and also our partners with the Sault Ste. Greyhounds and the Soo Thunderbirds driving into take a little basket of goodies as I give you guys more and more hints each show, as I promised that I would, but that will be the last big hint that I give to you about what the prize will consist of. Don't hesitate, you just got to hit like on our Facebook page if you have not, and if you have, you're already automatically entered for your chance to win the great prize courtesy of the Game Sports Show and the partners and sponsors involved with the Game Sports Show. Now, fellas, just going to dive right in, discuss on the local hockey scene, just a quick little recap on this past weekend, summarizing just the scores that happened locally with our local sports teams, and also I'm just going to get into the upcoming games for our local sports teams as well. We are going to start with the Soo Thunderbirds in the NOJHL, coming off the Thunderbirds certainly had a perfect previous weekend and also had a game this week on a Tuesday. A rare Tuesday game here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, as the Thunderbirds improved the record to 32-9-0-1 for 65 points. Good for top spot in the Western Conference and also the entire NOJHL. The Soo Thunderbirds started off this previous weekend on January the 17th, which was Thursday. I'm considering the Thursday going into the weekend. They played the GFL Memorial Gardens. They ended up winning 4-1 against the Espanola Express. Then they played on the January 18th, which would be on Friday, the day after Thursday, as they played the Powassan Voodoos and won by a score of 5-2 at the GFL Memorial Gardens. And then going into the weekend, they played on Sunday, January the 20th, defeating the Express 6-3 in the Espanola Regional Recreation Complex on the road. Then this past Tuesday, they had a game at the John Rhodes Community Center, their home barn, defeating the Elliott Lake Wildcards by a tight score of 5-4 in regulation, as the Soo Thunderbirds skate away there with a very competitive Elliott Lake team, okay? This team that Elliott Lake has are always fighters and go hard. You have the Thunderbirds, came to Finley, who had 2 goals. You have Brandon Miller, who had a goal and assist as well. Caden McDonald, the captain, with an assist. Nick Smith with a goal in the affair as well. Brady Caruso with a goal and an assist to help the Thunderbirds get past the Elliott Lake Wildcats on Tuesday night's affair. The Soo Thunderbirds' next game is on Friday, which is tomorrow, January the 25th, against the Blind River Beavers at 7 o'clock at the John Rhodes Community Center. Sunday, they played January the 27th, mark that down, at 7 o'clock in Elliott Lake. Tough battle this past Tuesday against Elliott Lake is certainly going to be a doozy in Elliott Lake, as they're there on Sunday at 7 o'clock. Then they play on Monday, February the 4th, so they're going to have a little bit of time off afterwards. This will be about a week off that they're going to have, week and a day, until they have their next game, as they'll play Blind River at 7 o'clock, another rare Monday kind of weekday game for the Soo Thunderbirds. And as I mentioned, that will be in Blind River, as they hope to continue their winning streak after a perfect week last week. And we're going to have John Parker hopefully come on by for the show this weekend on Sunday in terms of phone interview. We know he's going to be away. He couldn't join us here tonight, so we plan to have him on to get some reaction from last week and hopefully a successful weekend this weekend as well. The Thunderbirds hope to continue to lead the charge in the NOJHL. Their cross-border rivals, the Soo Eagles, transitioning to the Soo Eagles this past weekend, had their game postponed on Friday, January the 18th against Elliott Lake. In Elliott Lake, that game will be to be announced in terms of rescheduling. They played Saturday in Soo, Michigan, and they lost in overtime to Powassan 3-2. They are currently in action as we sit here against the Rayside Balfour Canadians. They're up 2-0 in the first period. They also play tomorrow at 7:30. They're in Espanola there, and then they are off until the 31st of January next week, as they are in Blind River. The Soo Eagles do return home. Their next home game will be Friday, February the 9th, against the Soo Thunderbirds after they have a home and home. So it's Saturday, February the 9th, the Soo Eagles will return home. And the Soo Eagles update in the standings as they sit in the Western Division, 19-19, 2-1 going into tonight's actions for 4th in the Western Division. Transitioning over to the LSSU men's hockey team, they actually had a pretty good weekend despite being 1-1. I think that's very successful despite who they played. Minnesota State, a very competitive team is Minnesota State, as the Lakers improved their record to 15-7-2 this year. They improved their record. They're 10-2 on the road, which is fantastic. They are 3-5-2 at home. I'm sure they would like to definitely improve that as the season continues. But being 10-2 on the road is certainly impressive. And getting a win over in Minnesota, even the second game, losing 5-3 in a tough affair and winning 1-0 on the 19th. There, they played this weekend against Bemidji State, a name that I love to say, and they play here at Soo, Michigan, against Bemidji, and it's the Pepler Center Whiteout is what the promotion of the game is on the website, as I'm being told. Hopefully I did pronounce that correctly. They play that as tomorrow, Friday the 25th at 7 o'clock, and then they play Saturday the 26th, which is home at 7 o'clock there against Bemidji. And Lake State hopes to continue their good season thus far and improve from their 15-7-2 record. Make sure you go to check out Lake State. They got a very good hockey team to watch, a great arena to watch the game in, and a very passionate fan base, as that's a city in Soo, Michigan, and even here in Soo, Ontario, as we are big followers of Lake State, that we've been craving a good, successful Lake Superior State University team. It has been some time since they've had the success they have, and they've had a great season thus far. Good luck to Lake State this weekend, and also to the Eagles and the Thunderbirds going forward. One more team that we're going to talk about locally here, the Sault Ste. Greyhounds. The Sault Ste. Greyhounds, giving you a little recap of this past weekend. The Soo Greyhounds had a pretty successful weekend as well. And I'm starting with Thursday, January the 17th. They defeated North Bay 5-1. They moved on to play Saturday in Barrie. They won 8-5. And then Sunday they played against Sudbury and won 7-4. Morgan Frost with 5 goals in that contest and was named first star of the week in the OHL offensively, and he has been absolutely hot since coming back from the World Juniors. Gets he has some confidence riding after being a little bit able to get a big goal there in the World Juniors. Gets chirped by Don Cherry. Maybe he's got a little bit of fire under that rear end, as he has something to prove as the first round pick of the Philadelphia Flyers. The Sault Ste. Greyhounds go into action this weekend against Peterborough. That is home at 7:07 on Saturday, and they play Kitchener on Sunday at 2:07. The Game Sports Show will be on hand Sunday as the Hounds play against Kitchener. So don't hesitate to reach over to myself, Scott Nason, or Dane and Justin if they're able to come to that as well, as we'll be on location. We will have a representative there on Saturday to watch the Peterborough game. However, on location we'll have some coverage on Sunday against Kitchener. Again, so that's 7:07 against Peterborough Saturday, 2:07 against Kitchener. And looking into next week, they are on the road starting Thursday, Friday, and Sunday next week for another little road trip. So that's going to be the Northern Superior Brewing Company local recap in terms of the local sports scene, as we are here live at the Northern Superior Brewing Company in Sault Ste. Marie alongside Dane Hanchrow and Justin Hykel for the Twin Soo's only local, regional, and national sports show. If you have any concerns or questions in regards to the schedules that I've provided, don't hesitate to reach over to myself or comment below in terms of get some clarifications, or to get in touch with the team's representatives, as we can certainly assist that with you with the Game Sports Show if you need any kind of assistance with tickets or any kind of questions that you want to ask. Myself, Dane, and Justin are going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to dive into the National Hockey League news updates. It's going to definitely be invaded by the Edmonton Oilers and a little bit of Toronto Maple Leaf talk, just to give you a little bit of a spoiler. Don't go anywhere. We're going to hear from our sponsors right back here for the Twin Soo's only local, regional, and national sports show, the Game Sports Show.
The Game Sports Show is pleased to shout out a partner, additional home, and sponsor to Northern Superior Brewing Company, located on 50 Pym Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Northern Superior Brewing Company having a strong presence locally with many beers to offer. With much involvement in the community of Sault Ste. Marie, Northern has a sport and friendly-like atmosphere within its tap room, and during the summer months, it is a must to visit Pier 55 to enjoy some delicious food, amazing view of the water, and view of the Bush Pulling Museum right on the cusp of the Hub Trail, and of course, all of that down with a delicious brew from Northern Superior. Northern Superior Brewing Company. It's a Northern thing.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and special edition home to the game, Silver Creek Golf Course, located on 104 Bellow Lake Road, Garden River, Ontario. And also shout out thank you to Silver Creek GM Jamie Henderson. Silver Creek Golf Course has many specials to offer for 18 holes, 9 holes, and even Twilight Deal specials. It does not matter what your level of golf game is, it is a must to enjoy the scenic course, memorable experiences that Silver Golf Course offers. Silver Creek also offers a Thursday wing night for you to enjoy food after a stellar time on the course. You can book your tee time by phone or online at golfsilvercreek.com. Silver Creek Golf Course, where all are welcome to play.
The Game Sports Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and additional home to the Game Sports Show, Sports Center Bar and Grill. Sports Center Bar and Grill, located on 624 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Sports Center rated top sports bar for the second year in a row. At Sports Center, enjoy their famous 75-cent wing night along with delicious Molson products on tap, along with a great atmosphere and other great food options available as well. Sports Center Bar and Grill, the Sioux's best sports bar.
Hi, this is Joe Bowen, and you're listening to the Game Sports Show from Sault Ste. Marie.
Welcome back to the Game Sports Show, the Twin Soo's only local, regional, and national sports show, live here at Northern Superior Brewing Company in Sault Ste. Marie. It is fantastic in this tap room, is it not, fellas? And how's that beer treating you, Justin?
Well, we got fancy new cups. It's making me feel like a whole other class.
Yeah, you didn't even get dressed for the occasion of such. Just kidding, you dressed nice tonight.
I don't have my Leafs hoodie on.
No, you don't. Well, the Leafs aren't playing tonight, so usually you don't do that.
Oh, I know, but
After a big win last night for Toronto, win 6-3 over Washington, we're definitely going to get into a very good, successful game before the All-Star break, and win did the Toronto Maple Leafs. Dane, as I like to tell people that look down at their phone, the world's better 3 inches higher.
What? Sorry, I was
The world's better 3 inches higher is what I said, if you're not looking at your phone. How's your beer over there?
My beer is wonderful. Probably going to get another one very shortly here.
Like throwing people right under the bus there. That's how I do things sometimes.
no neutrals here, Dave.
I love the neutrals, though. Neutral is good. I'll give credit to that. It's got the carbonated water, the lemon. It's good if you're trying to cut the... Okay. NHL talk, fellas. And we're going to dive right in to talk about the... I know this might pain the Oilers fan here first, but we're going to talk about the Leafs first because the Edmonton Oilers are definitely going to invade this segment because of the Peter Chiarelli firing, Mikko Koskinen signing, the call-out.
The Koskinen signing happened at Edmonton this week. What else happened?
Yeah, there's other things happened, I guess. Then you have Danger Cats uploading videos today, being an absolute beauty that he is. We're going to talk about the fan reactions about Chiarelli getting fired. If you'll ever be a part of a hockey team again, let alone be a general manager. Okay, the way that he basically took the Edmonton Oilers and bent them over the barrel, if you know what I'm saying, in the most appropriate sort of ways. But that's professionally speaking, may I add. But we're going to go to the Toronto Maple Leafs first. The Leafs last night won 6-3 over the Washington Capitals. It was very successful. Before that, Justin, they had a loss against Arizona. You know, they had a little bit of struggles going on where there's a lot of question. Right, you're looking at Toronto saying, all right, what is happening? Nylander comes back, and when Nylander comes back, this team is hovering around the 500 mark. Without him, they're over, well over. But some people are pointing the finger at Gardner, getting booed. You got Nylander saying that this guy should have been traded, who's soft. You have Zaitsev, who's definitely not living up. And then all the fingers start to get pointed, right? When you get the struggles in Toronto, everyone starts to turn their back on them.
I don't know. I mean, if you look in the last 7 days, we've beat 2 of the best teams in the NHL, and we've lost to 2 of the lesser teams in the NHL. It seems like we play up and down to our opponents almost.
When we were here last week, Toronto was playing Tampa, and Toronto defeated Tampa. Anderson had a solid game. That offense looked well. We did well against a very talented Tampa Bay Lightning team. That team is very special to watch, may I say. But we go against Florida, and it's like, where do we go?
We played one period.
And then you look and you have, everyone points the finger, well, you had Sparks was in between the pipes, and the team plays different, I guess. But the team is not just a one-goalie team. I know you're not the New Jersey Devils of 2002, or not 2002, 2001, sorry, with Martin Brodeur. They didn't win the Cup in 2002. That was Detroit. But you need to have a good goaltending option with Anderson and Sparks, and I kind of do understand the fans' concerns because Sparks, despite having a good record, his numbers aren't as flashy as what he had in the American Hockey League, but still, he's a guy that can still win you a hockey game, and it's not his fault that they lost to Florida last week.
Well, and I mean, it's not his fault that some guys are getting, like Ron Hainsey's out there getting 20 minutes and he's gassed. And so, you know, as a result of that, there's a couple more shots being given up on Sparks.
He made 26 saves on 28 shots. So.
And to be completely honest, I mean, it looks like the defense is almost trained to get out of the way so Anderson can see the shots, because Anderson's been incredibly vocal about wanting to be able to see everything. Yeah. And maybe Sparks doesn't play like that.
No.
You know, maybe he likes people to get in and block a couple shots, get in the way a little bit, give him some opportunities to make some saves.
Yep.
Because at the AHL, your defense isn't just clearing out and giving an open lane to the goalies to, a shooting range. It doesn't happen like that, and maybe that's why the team's playing a little better with Travis Dermott getting more minutes in the lineup, because he knows how to play in front of Garrett Sparks. He knows how to play the style those younger guys were playing.
So that's the thing. I had someone tell me that if they had Anderson net that game against Florida, they would have won. He had 26 saves. That is not true at all.
So I think the way the team played, regardless, whatever goal he was in, they were going to lay an egg.
Yeah.
I mean, Anderson was in against Colorado. Was he not on Monday night last week? And they got blown out. They played like trash that game. I think that was Anderson's first game back.
Yeah.
And the team played like trash. So, it was no different of an effort against Colorado than it was against Florida. Like I said, teams
he got booed off the ice that game.
The Leafs are playing, they play Tampa and they play lights out. They played Washington last night and it was Nylander's best game in 2 years. Fact.
Great line with Connor Brown, Kadri.
Kadri's finally getting the scoring touch again.
He gets that. He has his hot streaks. He's up, down. He's like the stock market.
His interview post-game was hilarious, by the way. They asked him about Nylander, and you think he can keep this up? And they said, well, if you lay off of him and keep out of his ear, then maybe you will.
Like that.
And, I think it's kind of nice to see guys sticking up for each other. Tavares hammered someone off top of Anderson. Yep. If you caught that one, that was a pretty good one.
Nice. All the boys were out to play.
It was a good game last night, and I think it was a good way to go into the break. It's almost unfortunate now that we got 10 days off.
Yep.
We're not back until Saturday night before the Super Bowl.
Friday, actually. We play Friday the 1st of February against Detroit. Then we have Pittsburgh on the Saturday.
Oh, that's nice.
On Saturday.
That's a nice lineup, and then the Super Bowl on Sunday.
There you go. Good little that's
and then the Leafs, they play again Monday night against the Ducks. That's a juicy weekend.
Yeah, they got
Wings Friday night, Ducks
Pittsburgh
Saturday.
And then the Ducks.
So we'll win against Pittsburgh.
See now, and Dane, I'm going to chime you into this because now moving on from kind of the game side, Toronto. We're going to talk about last night's win. Obviously, Nylander was 3 assists. Kadri gets 4 points. Zaitsev gets a goal. The players that were heavily criticized this year go out and have a good game last night. Now everybody's kind of laying off them. Typical kind of Toronto fan base and the media coverage there. But that must be a confidence booster for those guys. I think I see the logic of putting those guys together. Connor Brown, who you believe is a third-line guy, he's been put in fourth-line situations. You have Nylander, who's been struggling, and that just goes without saying, and Kadri, who's been very streaky, as he kind of has been the last couple of years, in my total opinion. Last year was a great year for him, nonetheless, but they had 3 guys who needed to get themselves going, and I think that was the logic of putting that line together, and they really flourished last night. They did, against a good Washington Capitals team, and Toronto proved yet again why they belong in the top of the threshold of the National Hockey League.
Yeah, I think the Leafs caught the Capitals at a good time. The Capitals have got absolutely shellacked the last 3 games, I think, allowing 24 goals in the last 3 games. Playing San Jose, 7 goals, Chicago, 8 goals, and then 6 against the Leafs last night. So, yeah, I think absolutely for Zaitsev and Nylander to kind of, get the ball rolling a little bit. I think it's a little bit unfortunate that they're kind of going into the All-Star break. I think it depends what way you look at it. I think it's a positive that they get some success before the All-Star break happens, but at the same time, you might lose out on that momentum with the 4 or 5 day break or whatever it is. Yeah, it's good to see for the Leafs. It's good to see for Nylander. Hopefully after that game, the media might get off his back a little bit and just let the guy play his game, because you know what. He got paid the amount of money that he did, and he is a good hockey player. I think maybe he got $1 million more than he should have, but we shall see. He needs to play to his contract, or the Leafs Nation will never get off his back. But yeah, it was a good night for the Leafs last night. Played really good.
Every time Mitch Marner gets the puck, it makes me see that he's like a true leader on this team, that he's a heartbeat of this team. And I'm not taking away from Matt. Matthews had a lot of big monkey come off his shoulders yesterday, getting that goal in the power play. But you have Mitch Marner just feels he's playing just ever since he came to the National Hockey League. He's been playing just fantastic, and it's been working well with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So Mitch Marner, Matthews, and these guys, if everyone gets under fire like they should, and William Nylander comes back, this team could be back. But Dubas has said openly that he wants to improve that D-core. And he needs to improve that D-core despite the success from last night.
Well, just to speak about Connor Brown, I could see him being definitely a good trade target to go to the Canes. Good position player to play in their bottom 6. I mean, who knows? He could crack their top 6. I mean, Carolina's not an offensive juggernaut by any means.
No.
think they're pretty top heavy with their first line, but other than that, yeah, they got a log jam on defense, and the Leafs don't have that. So, I mean, yeah, I think a first and a Connor Brown and maybe a prospect, depending on who they're gonna get. But yeah, the Carolina Hurricanes have a lot of good defense.
Even St. Louis, Connor Brown fit in St. Louis.
I think the trade's going to happen with Carolina. I think it's been brought up time and time again, and obviously you can't look in too much into trade rumors because there's so many of them, and like I said, the deal needs to work out for both teams, and it depends what Carolina wants. I think they probably want a little bit of offensive help, so I think Connor Brown, where there's a logjam in Toronto, where I find when he is put on the third line when there's an injury, the games that I've watched, he has found success, but when that guy gets slotted back in the lineup, coming back from his injury, he's back down on the fourth line. And I think he's above the fourth line. I think given the opportunity, and I think he would welcome a trade to a place like Carolina to get a little bit more playing time. I mean, it's definitely a different. It's not the same as playing in Toronto, right? It's
different lifestyle.
Different lifestyle, but have fun with the boys. Sully after the game, do the weird Carolina after game celebrations there, and yeah. So if they do make a deal with Carolina, I could see Connor Brown definitely being a piece involved.
Dubas has said how he's going to be active. He is in the market for someone who might be a rental. He does want someone with term, though. More is what he said. I think when he's going to look at a defenseman, that will be the term player that he's going to get. If he's going to get a forward, if he does do that for whatever reason, if he feels the need to add a top 9 or top 6, I think that would be the rental player. If I had to really state it, you're going to add term if you're going to get a defenseman.
Well, and a guy like Ron Hainsey too, who can just kind of fill in and slot into Carolina's bottom 6 if they trade Slavin or Falk or I'm not sure who they have their eye on. Dougie Hamilton potentially. Yeah, I know he's back in the trade. It's like I don't get the Dougie Hamilton thing. The guy finds success everywhere he goes. I know he's not having the greatest time in Carolina right now offensively, but if you look at his numbers in Calgary last year, they get a 20-goal season last year or the year before that. So, I mean, I don't know what's going on with Dougie Hamilton, if it's like a dressing room thing or what, but he seems like a lot of the teams he played for is just a short-term kind of thing, and he's back in the trade market again.
How ironic if Toronto gets Dougie Hamilton, because we could have actually drafted him. It was one of the picks that we moved out of the Phil Kessel trade. So a little fun fact.
Tried to get Dougie Hamilton at the 2015 draft, and then we ended up getting Griffin.
I'm still a fan of Toronto targeting St. Louis with Colton Parayko and or Alex Pietrangelo. I'm still kind of a fan of that. Even looking at one of Parayko and Pietrangelo, then looking at Jay Bomeister, even a little veteran presence again to even add with Ron Hainsey. I'm still kind of that route, but Dane definitely brings up a good point with the Carolina Hurricanes. Dubas has stated time and time again he wants a defenseman. He's going to do what he can. I'm sure Dubas will come through. Justin, any kind of final comments about that? I have one more comment to say about the game that happened pretty big in the National Hockey League following that.
I mean, I just touched on the Dougie Hamilton thing a little bit. I feel like everyone takes on Dougie Hamilton thinking they're getting a defensive defenseman who scores tons of goals. But if you think about that statement, he's just an offensive defenseman. He's a defenseman that scores goals. So you know what inherently he doesn't do? Play excellent, stellar shutdown defense. He plays adequate defense at an NHL level, but he gets points. If you need someone to generate points for you, he's going to do it. He gets shots on the net. He generates shot opportunities for other players. So if you need someone to do that, he's your guy. He was really good at that in Calgary. Imagine how he'd look with, Mitch Marner or some of those guys. I think it's an interesting concept, and I think his term on his deal is still, I think he's got 2 years left.
Dougie?
Yeah, he's still till 2021.
I think 4 or 5.7.
Until 2021, I think it's just under $6 million. So I think that's a really reasonable deal that you can bring in. And I don't know. I don't know who you give up for him. I do like the Connor Brown idea because I do think Connor Brown deserves some more playing time. But wasn't Connor Brown one of the ones out of the old Erie Otters?
Yes, he was there with Erie.
Team.
So it was before McDavid. It's when McDavid was a rookie.
Oh,
more so.
I was going to say, so there's no connection there where you could try to
He was on a line. He played on a line. Connor McDavid's
It was his second year, I think.
His first year he played when he was 15. He played on Connor Brown and Dane Fox's line. I'm pretty sure.
You sure it's not you? That wasn't you? Okay.
I
You didn't change your name?
No, I'm too slow to play junior hockey.
Call Edmonton up, see if we can give them, work out something there.
Yeah, no, I feel
honest to God, I feel like that wouldn't be like a bad thing. They seem to have chemistry. I know Connor Brown and Dane Fox were top 2 in the OHL that year in points, and Connor McDavid I think was 6. So, I mean, there was chemistry there, and
It looks like he needs a little bit of positivity. It looks like he's aging already over there.
Connor Brown who played there.
But one thing happened last night in the Leafs and Washington game that's big. Alexander Ovechkin tied Sergei Fedorov for the most points by a Russian player.
That's the only reason he played. I'm 100% positive that's the only reason he played.
He loves playing Toronto.
Well, he could have taken his suspension for the All-Star game before, like the one game before the break or the one game after. And you'd figure the team would push him to play for the home game after the break. You'd like to have your guy who's supposed to get butts in the seats getting the butts in the seats, if you know what I mean, not getting butts in the seats in another rink.
You know what? He loves playing Toronto. He tied him with 1,179 points. Did Alex Ovechkin, his former teammate, and Sergei Fedorov that he had even in Washington. If anyone remembers him, he played over there in Washington.
He's going to smash that record.
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah. He's going to break that record. He might even get another 400 to 500 more points at least before he is all done.
Comes back. Where is Datsyuk on that list?
I have to get that number. He's down there a little bit, but I don't think Datsuk's had the same presence at 40. Ovechkin's still scoring 50 goals plus this year, I think, in my total.
I think Datsyuk was more of an 80-point consistent kind of guy, where Obi's had a couple 100-point seasons.
13-point consistent guy.
Yeah. But overall, to recap with the Toronto point here before we move on, as we do have to move on, fellas, because we're talking about the Edmonton Oilers in a big amount here. The Toronto Maple Leafs got a big win going into the All-Star break, and good success. Dubas is going to start evaluating trades, guaranteed at this All-Star break. Wouldn't be surprised if trades happened before the trade deadline, especially with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Daner, the floor is going to be yours a lot here, my friend, as you know we have a little bit of time here to give you the floor with the Edmonton Oilers. Peter Chiarelli has been canned. Mikko Koskinen signs a contract. The night before he got relieved, he signed a 3-year contract extension with the Edmonton Oilers, $4.5 million cap hits roughly for Mikko Koskinen. It balances out. There's some time in there each year. Max Talbot's in the final year of his deal. It almost pretty much sends him off into the sunlight after this season. Pretty much inevitable there. They lose to the Detroit Red Wings, and Tim and Sid actually said on Sportsnet, and they called it, that Peter Chiarelli will be fired if they lose to the Wings. He got fired in the second period, I think is what Bob Nicholson said. The second period in that game is when Peter Chiarelli was relieved of his duties. And ever since he's been a part of that team, okay, he's moved Taylor Hall for Adam Larson, which hasn't panned out. Hall won a Hart Trophy. Jordan Eberle got traded for Ryan Strome, who ended up being Ryan Spooner, who ended up on waivers and back in the lineup there tonight, but basically get nothing for Eberle. You trade a first and a second for Griffin Reinhart. That first ended up being Matthew Barzal. It took me a second to get that out because I feel bad for Oilers fans in general, and Dane being not only a sports expert in general, but a passionate Oilers fan who has a lot of insight and watches a lot of Oilers games. And to give him the floor here and just basic reaction about Chiarelli getting fired. How do you feel about it? Are you finally relieved? And we're going to get into a discussion about what's going to happen next for the Oilers. Who's the next potential general manager? And I hope nobody says Steve Yzerman, because that just makes me shake my head when that happens. And if that does happen, I might have to run it across the street in my nude in the winter, because I don't think that's going to happen. But the Oilers are in an interesting spot now where I think they can do what Toronto did and literally restart and do it the right way. Daner, floor is yours.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's a sense of relief yet. I think it goes a lot deeper than just firing Peter Chiarelli. The old boys club needs to get their asses out of Edmonton because they haven't done anything even before Chiarelli was there. Kevin Lowe, McTavish, Bob Nicholson, they just can't get it done in Edmonton. They've been around long enough. It hasn't been just, the McDavid years where Edmonton's been struggling with good NHL talent. My thing is I think it goes so much deeper than that. I think you have to look first at scouting. other than Oscar Klefbom and Kara, I can't think of anybody that is on the Oilers roster currently that has been drafted outside of the top 10 in the NHL draft. So outside, your Darnell Nurses, your Connor McDavids, your Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, your Yamamotos, your Puljujärvis, they haven't made a good pick outside the top 10 of the NHL draft.
Even when they had the first overall pick, it was
Neil Yakupov, miss. And it also, when you have guys not being able to come up through your AHL system, and that's another thing. What's going on down in Bakersfield? They can't produce NHL talent. Every time we bring a guy up, they can never stay up. They get sent back down. That forces your GM's hand to overpay when you're signing free agents to fill in roster spots because you have desperate needs. Andre Sekera was, I don't mind that contract. I think he was good when he was healthy for his $4.5 million that he's making. I don't think that's one of Chiarelli's bad signings. But yeah, when you don't have players coming from your AHL system to fill in roster spots, every season, you start having to make these trades for players to fill in your needs, and then you have to sign these free agents to fill in roster spots, and you have to overpay them. And I think, like Toronto kind of did, where they fired, 100 employees that were running the Toronto Maple Leafs. I honest to God think that's what needs to happen in Edmonton. The play on the ice is terrible. Edmonton, it's like Bob Nicholson said, it's like there's something in the water at Edmonton. Edmonton has a piss poor forecheck. Defensively, positioning, they do not know where to be on the ice. Their breakouts aren't good unless they give Connor McDavid the puck. They're looking for Connor too much. Like the teams are reading the plays. And outside of maybe 6 guys, I don't think the rest of the team is even NHL caliber players. No, they're guys that can bounce back. You got Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Klefbom, Nurse, Russell, and Chason. I have 6-7 guys that I just named there. Those are the only guys that I actually think are NHL caliber players that are on the team, or at least playing right now. Larson's also in that discussion, but he's playing the worst hockey of his career right now. As much as I love my team, it's just it's embarrassing. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm happy Bob Nicholson's not going to be selling off our first round draft picks in Puljujärvi for a short-term solution like Chiarelli. Because it was only 2 weeks ago that our first round pick in Puljujärvi was on the table for to save his job, and thank God they got rid of him before the trade deadline. And now I'll talk about Koskinen. I don't mind the Koskinen signing. I think we overpaid for him a little bit, but if you look at the free agent market coming up, there's Bobrovsky, Varlamov's available, Michael Neuwirth, Jimmy Howard. All those guys, like Michael Neuwirth would be the exception, but those other 3 guys are going to pull in a lot of money. How good of a quality goaltender is Jimmy Howard? He's going to get paid more than Koskinen's going to get paid. Is he that much better of a goalie than Koskinen at this point in his career? Jimmy Howard's been very up and down. Varlamov and Bobrovsky are kind of getting up there in age. I think Bobrovsky wants to get paid. I think that's the sole reason he's leaving Columbus, and obviously there is a little bit of something going on in the dressing room with Bobrovsky and the team. He doesn't want to be there anymore.
Well,
but
yeah, he's pretty open about not wanting to be there either.
Yeah, so, and I think he wants to get paid. So, I mean, I don't mind it. Obviously, time will tell to see if it's a good signing. I like that it's only 3-4 year deal. Nothing like overly crazy, but again, this comes back to drafting. We had a guy, Brossoit, who is playing stellar in Winnipeg right now. But with the bad defense that Edmonton has, and just not finding success in Edmonton because of just Edmonton playing like shit in front of Brossoit, he's in Winnipeg now, and he's lighting it up because he's playing on a good team. Same with Devin Dubnyk back in the day, another goalie that I always said, Devin Dubnyk's a good goalie playing on a shitty team. And the same thing happened to Brossoit. And he was, I always said Brossoit might be the goalie, the future of Edmonton. And now he's on Winnipeg, and his stats are crazy this year, crazy good. So, again, we signed Koskinen because our drafting is shit, our AHL system is shit, our management is shit, and it's a dumpster fire like I've never seen before. It's embarrassing.
going to give you a bit more of a rant because I'm going to let the listeners hold and catch their breath there, take a sip of water as you sip on a beer. We're going to take a break here on the Game Sports Show. We'll come back a little bit more Oilers discussion, then to finalize with some hockey discussion, a bit more with our multiple choice segment before we conclude our hockey segment there. Then we're going to do 3 up, 3 down with baseball before we conclude tonight's show. Don't go anywhere. Listen to the Twin Soo's only local regional and national sports show, Dave McCaig, alongside Justin Hykel and Dane Hanchrow, live from Northern Superior Brewing Company. Time to hear from our sponsors. When we come back, more hockey talk coming your way.
The Game Sports Show is pleased to shout out a partner, additional home, and sponsor to Northern Superior Brewing Company, located on 50 Pym Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Northern Superior Brewing Company having a strong presence locally with many beers to offer. With much involvement in the community of Sault Ste. Marie, Northern has a sport and friendly-like atmosphere within its tap room, and during the summer months, it is a must to visit Pier 55 to enjoy some delicious food, amazing view of the water, and view of the Bush Play Museum right on the cusp of the Hub Trail, and of course, all of that down with a delicious brew from Northern Superior. Northern Superior Brewing Company. It's a northern thing.
Get Wicked Catering from the crew at the Wicked Sister.
We like to think of ourselves as foodies. While our favorite foods are paired with a beer tasting at the Wicked Sister, you can now have the same creative menu for your next catered business luncheon, family get-together, wedding, or holiday party. Our white truffle risotto appeals to your gluten-free and vegetarian guests. Add sautéed shrimp or freshly grilled chicken for a pop of protein. Or let us build you a custom menu to suit your needs. From plated events of 15 to buffets for 200, the Wicked Sister will cater your event with tapas, snacks, cravables, or a full sit-down dinner.
The Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank a list of additional sponsors. North Shore Sports and Auto, new location located on 647 McDonald Avenue, Sault Ste. Marie. A family-owned and operated business with doing business in Sault Ste. Marie for over 10 years. Loads of products available for your enjoyment for all seasons. North Shore Sports and Auto, we understand the importance of quality service and products, and we work hard to ensure that all customers have a positive experience before and after each and every sale. North Shore Sports and Auto, meeting all of your new and pre-owned equipment needs. Special thanks to Salon. The Salon, located on 589 2nd Line East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, owned and operated by Mike Cuglietta. Book your appointment today at 705-941-9191 or via online at https://thesalonsoo.as.me-. The Salon, making the Soo beautiful, one haircut at a time. As well as a shout out to the Superior Pro Shop. The Superior Pro Shop, located inside the Community First Credit Union Superior Arena on 285 Northern Avenue East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Jeremy Paquin and ran by Larry Monroe. Superior Pro Shop, for over 40 years, meet all of your skate sharpening, skate repair, and hockey needs. Also to Discover the Canvas. Discover the Canvas, located on 317 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. A beautiful new renovated building owned and operated by expert artist and Sioux native Katrina Thibodeau. Katrina taking her talents of the ink in Sault Ste. Marie and truly creating the best and most realistic art locally. Call Katrina today at 705-450-8099 or email her at discoverthecanvas@gmail.com to book your tattoo or consultation today. Welcome back to the Game Sports Show, the Twin Soo's only local regional national sports show. Listen to the Game Sports Show on thegamesportshow.com, thegamesportshow.puppy.com, or through the Scott Nason YouTube channel. Here live at Northern Superior Brewing Company, alongside Justin Hykel and Dane Hanchrow. Continuing our hockey discussion here. We got approximately 10 to 12 minutes left on the show for a wrap up. We got a lot to get to, fellas. Let's jump right into it. Continuing with the Edmonton Oilers discussion. I did say before the break, the general manager search is not going to be Steve Yzerman. I don't know if you agree. Listen, Steve Yzerman built that team in Tampa Bay. He stepped down because he wanted to be more with his family. If he's leaving Tampa Bay, whom is the best hockey team in the National Hockey League right now, and that is his baby. He's in sunrise. He's in Florida. Every morning he wakes up to sun. He goes to bed with sun, and there's 30 degrees Celsius weather going on. I forget what that is in Fahrenheit. 80? Something like 80? Around there? So I can tell you right now that, I'm sure he would love to go to a Canadian team that's Connor McDavid and guys, sure. All right, but he is going to go somewhere else, and that's Detroit Red Wings if he's going to go anywhere. That's where he wants to be. That's where he is known. He basically has the keys to the city in Detroit. He is Detroit. The best captain, one of the best leaders come out of Detroit, next to Gordie Howe being one of the leaders in Detroit, obviously. But I will say right now, the GM search, a lot of names have been thrown out there. You have Columbus assistant GM, Toronto assistant GM. You have Vegas assistant GM, but Vegas assistant GM already has a front line to Seattle, apparently, to be the general manager there. Dave Nonis, his name even got dropped as Justin and I look at each other and I grin. I don't know if he does because I think if Dave Nonis goes to Edmonton, I think that helps nothing whatsoever. Dane, you and I were talking yesterday. I like the Mark Messier idea. You don't because like original OG. You still got Greg McTavish there. Sorry, I don't know why I said Kevin, but you have Greg McTavish there. Craig McTavish there. Thank you, Justin. I said Craig. Did I not?
You know, every time you and
Craig's whatever. McTavish is there. You have Lowe there. Nicholson. There's guys that have to go. Lowe has to go. There's guys that have to go. A little rhyme for you, okay? Does that make up for it? But I will tell you right now that I think Messier would be a good move. I honestly think it would be. Somebody you should consider. Joe Sakic, no one thought that would pay off him as a leader in Colorado. I think that is. Patrick Waugh didn't work as a coach. I think he's actually a better GM than a coach, Patrick Waugh. Same with Wayne Gretzky. Not saying Wayne Gretzky should get the front line on, the GM job, but maybe he should be considered for president of hockey operations, like Shanahan's doing in Toronto. Give them that responsibility maybe for a trial, but then hire someone who's a good analyst. You have Mark Hunter, who's open, who I'm a big fan of. Okay, I want Toronto to keep him. Maybe he comes in as assistant GM role to Messier, and you bring in a young analytics guy who's 25, 26, much like Toronto did, kind of take some of Toronto's book, and then you have Hunter who could take over for Messier eventually when Messier maybe transitions to a president role. You have the young guy eventually take over the next 10 years if he stays loyal to the organization, and he builds with the team. Just a little example. Dane, I'll give the floor to you, GM search. What do you want to see the Oilers do with the GM search?
I like a young analytics guy is definitely a major need in Edmonton. I'm not overly concerned about the GM factor. I mean, getting rid of Peter Chiarelli was great because he's an idiot and just made horrible trades over his career. Like, if that guy ever gets a GM job, like a head GM job, and not just like an advisor or something.
Is he done? I did say that before. He's done. He's never been
he's done for now. I don't foresee him getting a GM job.
Ever again.
I wouldn't say ever again. I mean, he might find success being an assistant GM or an advisor with other teams. I want a complete overhaul of the management in Edmonton. I think we need to fire all our scouts because our scouts are shit. Just like the Toronto Maple Leaf scouts were before a couple of years ago.
Not anymore.
I mean, we're never going to be able to move past the old boys club if we bring on a guy like Mark Messier. And I think they've had their chance for the last 20 years to build a good team, and they haven't been successful with doing that. And they've had, oh my God, so many opportunities. How many first-round picks do you need to draft? How many years do you need to suck and stockpile draft picks? But we can never make a good second-round draft pick. Look at the Boston Bruins. Their whole first line is second-round draft picks, and they're 3 of the top 30 best forwards in the NHL. Edmonton doesn't have any. Jujhar Khaira is our only draft pick outside the first round that is a forward playing on our team right now. That can't happen. That cannot happen. Our AHL system. Dallas Eakins, let's bring him back.
He's set to take over in Anaheim. I think that's Anaheim's plan. Right, Eakins, he's doing good with their the San Diego Gulls. Like, they're doing all right.
Yeah,
I think he's set to come up once they axe Carlisle.
Yeah.
or the Carlisle relationship disintegrates. But I mean,
it's gonna
as far as
very quickly.
Like the Oilers general manager situation goes, I mean, this is my opinion. Just looking in from the outside, having seen the Leafs go through some real bad struggles in the past.
Some absolute shit.
And some combinations of personalities that don't work. But I think whoever comes into Edmonton,
they have a mess. It's a fucking mess.
They don't really. It's
not that much of a mess.
It's a pretty good situation. You have Connor McDavid. You have a team that's going to spend to the max of the salary cap. You have a brand new building. You have season ticket holders that, as long as the oil patch is doing all right, are going to maintain their subscription. You can come into town, basically you have a nuclear option, because at no point is the fan base going to hold it against you that you fire everyone. It doesn't.
They'll like it. They want it.
Well, that's exactly it. That's a good way to buy some fan.
They love loyalty there, though. Hey, they love that.
You have to start at ground zero.
Yeah.
And
they have that hard time because they're all about loyalty. But that's been their definition of a hockey team.
To be completely honest, you need a guy who's got some clout to come in and do it.
Like we did in Toronto.
The guy who has the balls to come in and just say, nope, you're cool, but nope. And just get rid of them all.
You're
you know
cool,
what I
but
mean?
nah, you're sure, definitely fired.
And that's what happens. But because these people are all buddies and they don't want to hurt each other's feelings, and it's 2019.
Like the fact that Kevin Lowe is still working in the Oilers organization is mind-blowing. And this is the problem. Like Justin just said, they don't want to hurt people's feelings. Mac T got fired, and then they brought him back 2 years later, 3 years later to be the GM.
Cliff Fletcher still works for the Leafs. And
he sits in the press box.
I honestly think he just hasn't been able to find his way home in 12 years. Like, he just lives in the Scotiabank Arena. He feeds off fries and stuff like that.
I mean, at the end of the day, Steve Yzerman coming to Edmonton is probably a long shot. But, I mean, it's still a sexy job to have. You got to look at, like Justin said, New Barn, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Darnell Nurse, and Oscar Klefbom. You have your foundation that you want to build around.
There's one person, too, we can't forget about who.
You got Evan Bouchard.
Ken Hitchcock is not going to be there. He wants to retire. That was the whole.
Yeah, like
you gotta think, there's another.
So
the GM will bring in who he wants as a coach.
But this is what I like. If Ken Hitchcock's done next year, then bring in a GM coaching combo that wants to work together, that are on the same
page.
Because
I like the Daryl Sutter option, too.
I don't know how anybody could have agreed with Peter Chiarelli some of the moves that he made. I mean, trading the first and second, like, never mind the Taylor Hall trade, the first and second at the 2015 draft, because he couldn't get Dougie Hamilton because Calgary or because Boston didn't want to trade it to their former GM. We offered them a better pick than Calgary did, and then he just, because he thought he had to do something, trades for a guy that has been in the league for 3 years, that has found no success in the AHL, that is probably going to be, you know, a bum. And where is Griffin Reinhart right now? Not playing in the NHL. The guy Washington World Juniors, I knew he wasn't going to be good. I never was a fan of Griffin Reinhart, and I almost fell out of my chair when I seen him trade that. Those are valuable prospects. Thomas Chabot and Matt Barzal were still on the board in that draft, and we were never drafting Matt Barzal. We had other guys, but Thomas Chabot could have been a guy that we could have had on our team. And, you know, he's a point-per-game defenseman in the NHL right now.
There's a lot of guys that you could still have on your team. But we won't get into that.
We don't need to get into that.
The thing is,
I'm sweating right now.
What do you think? Listen to Daryl Sutter. Is he an option? There's people there that Daryl Sutter's an option. Could work with Hitchcock for the rest of the year. Sutter slides over after. You have a young guy come in next year, choose a new coach. There's ways to do damage control this year to revamp, get things going.
It's only so fitting that Keith Gretzky is the interim GM right now. Like, it's laughable.
Yeah, it is. Be interesting to see if he's in place when the deadline comes around. I don't think so. But moving on from the Edmonton Oilers, we got some more stuff to get to. We have time constraints, fellas. So we're going to jump into talking about our multiple choice segment. Okay, and while we do that, we're going to incorporate the All-Star game right in the first question. The All-Star game is this weekend in San Jose. We've got league players, we've got teams from all around the league. They're there. Sault Ste. Marie's own Paul Maurice, in front of the show, listener of the show, who we hope to have on very near future. Paul Maurice is coaching. Now, the All-Star game this weekend. Looking back to the All-Star games that you've played, that you've watched. None of us have played in an All-Star game. What is the most exciting skills competition to watch? Is it A, target shooting, B, fastest skater, C, hardest shot, or D, you know what, I'm going to be nice, I'm going to give you an other? Justin, kick off our multiple choice segment.
I really like fastest skater. I mean, that's always been a good one for me. Like Larkin the last 2 years ago, like he was cruising around there. I'm going back, I think 2003, Sammy Kapanen was lighting it up, and I think the whole, like his 2003, he came in second, and then in 2004, because his son told him that he was disappointed in him, came back and won it. Like that's just cool to see how fast some of these guys are.
Fastest skater. Dane, you have the fastest skater in the world for a team that you cheer for, but what's your favorite skills competition?
Yeah, I'm with Justin. I kind of like the relay races or the fastest skater. Like, I mean, like the targets and the hardest shot, I think are generally, you know, the two most liked events of it. But, I mean, I don't really foresee anybody breaking Zdeno or Shea Weber's records anytime soon.
Ever?
And I just think like the hardest shot competitions like lost a little bit for me. So yeah, that's what I like. I like the relay and the skating.
I'm actually going to go with target shooting, fellas. It's very close to the hardest shot for me, but I've always found that excited to see if they can get on 4 shots or how many they can kind of get. I don't think the targets, like I feel that the people back in the late thousands, early thousands were better at hitting those targets more quickly. But again, I could be wrong with that. The players are definitely a lot more faster now when they play hockey. But I definitely certainly enjoy the hardest shot as well. But as Dane said, I don't think anyone's going to catch Dana or Shea, so it's going to be very hard to watch after you watch the kind of cannons that we saw. So I got to go with the target shooting for that. Now, second question in terms of the All-Star game with our multiple choice segment. With the All-Star game format of the game, do you want to see the format change from a 3-on-3 to go back to what it was in the early thousands of a 5-on-5 game and mean something in terms of you get extra home ice game in the playoffs or incentives instead of $1 million reward that you all know goes to charity, which I think is fantastic? But do you think the game should be worth something in terms of the team that wins and maybe have an Eastern Conference against a Western Conference again? Or do you like how it is? So you think it needs to have change, yes or no? Dane?
It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen unless they force the Stars to go to the All-Star game. If they're going to do something like baseball where the winner gets to have home field advantage in the final, the issue is it being a contact sport and there's more likeliness for injuries. And I mean, if you're a team that is, 14th in your conference and you have no chance in hell of making the playoffs, why the hell are you going to send your guy to go battle for, Tampa to get home ice advantage in the playoffs if you're a guy like Claude Giroux or going, like, it makes no sense, right? So, like, basically the NHL would have to force these guys to play in this game, and because it's a contact sport, like, I feel like some guys might take it seriously, some guys might. Baseball is just baseball. Like, you go up there, you hit the ball, you play a little D. It's a little bit more grinding in hockey where, you're going to take a couple bumps and bruises along the way. So I don't foresee that. If they put it back 5-on-5, I'll never watch another All-Star game ever again because the only thing worse is the Pro Bowl. The only thing worse is the Pro Bowl.
Which is this weekend.
The NBA All-Star game's just as bad too. Baseball has it right, but baseball is like, the NBA I feel like could do what baseball does. But I feel like football because the Super Bowl is obviously neutral every year. But I don't ever see the NHL doing that for those reasons. But I mean, as a fan, yeah, it would be awesome, but won't happen.
Justin, change, yes or no?
No, it won't happen. I mean, I'm going to echo the same sentiment that Dane had there. It's just not going to. If you make it worth it for some players, I don't know. If you made it, I'm sticking with no. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more, fellas, with the no. I think that it's actually to enjoy it. I've always said that it'd be kind of cool to make it worth something if you wanted to change it. But, again, the injuries that do come into play. I would like to see maybe a bit more excitement and more trying on the skills competition, though. I'd like to see the competitors take it a bit more seriously because it is there. I'd like to see, for example, I'm trying to think of someone with a very hard shot right now at the top of my head that I really can't think of for some. Shea Weber still does. Obviously, I'd like to see him come on and still do it, or I'd like to see those guys really try in the fast. I think that's the only one that people really try very hard at. It's the fastest skater until you look down the ice and it's Connor McDavid. But I think maybe you should enhance the need to provide that more entertainment on the All-Star game in terms of the skills competition. The game is going to be watched, and it is going to be a little lax, cock around a little bit, but they do try a little bit when you think about it. They do have respect for the game, so they're going to try. But I think there's some improvements that will be made to give more entertainment.
I think another thing they should maybe consider bringing back is the Young Guns game. Just have all the rookies play 3-on-3. Like I think that would be crazy if you just had rookies. Yeah. Kind of like the team North America was. I remember. Well, and something else that would be cool, like the NBA does, where they have guys that, when it comes to the dunk contest, these guys that don't play in the actual All-Star game, that aren't actually All-Stars, but they're the best dunkers in the league, and they can come out and showcase their talents. So why not have a guy that has the hardest slap shot in the league, but is
like
a
Shea
six,
Weber.
but like a sixth-line guy who would never play in the All-Star game, but just to come there and showcase their skill for that certain area of the game. Like look at Kapanen. I mean, he might be an all-star one day, but when it comes to the fastest skating competition, I think he'd give Connor McDavid a run for his money. I don't think he'd beat him, but
he said in an interview the other day he's faster than his dad. So
I think if you give Connor a good little run for his money, but I still don't think Connor's got those monstrous legs too, right?
What if they gave the winning team like a donation to their charity or something?
Just like the All-Star game is. Just like the actual game.
Well, they do, like the MVP.
No,
guy.
but like
that's the game. The skills, maybe.
The skills, like the individual players.
Make it more charity-based. I like that.
Because each player has a charity that's close to home, so they're going to fight for them.
I would like you said, Dan, I'd like to see him get the players there, the All-Star skills competition, actually the best at those certain areas. Then the players participate in the game. That's what we're going to go with that. Clean sweep that not need to change. I think just improvements. Third and final question before we go up to 3 up and 3 down for baseball. Is there some quick updates that yours truly we bringing forward? Pavel Datsyuk, considering a return in the National Hockey League. Now, Scott Nason, whom is our board operator tonight, and there's my "you blew it" moment. I forgot to mention Scott in the opener. My apologies. I always seem to have a "you blew it" moment, but we don't like really predicting much in the show in terms of the Wicked Sister edition of the show. We kind of veer away from predicting as best as possible unless we're doing a actual kind of bracket or picking a Super Bowl winner or anything kind of such. But I kind of brought in the predictions because I feel that they're fun to discuss and do. So people, the listeners, that's you, really like the predictions because it gets you to interact. So Pavel Datsyuk has said that he's not ruling out an NHL return. He's in the final season of his KHL contract, and his rights in the National Hockey League from the Arizona Coyotes expired July 1st as well. As he was traded there, very weird to say, as Detroit moved him to Arizona. Arizona fans would, I'm sure when they play NHL 19 at home, have Pavel Datsyuk on their roster. I'm sure they'd love to see that with the young guns. Where does Pavel Datsyuk play if he comes back? Let's go into that realm. Okay, I'm going to give you the options. Option A, does he return to the Red Wings, especially if Steve Yzerman goes there next year? 2, the Toronto Maple Leafs, because everyone's going to throw that out there because it's Toronto and Babcock, which is 1. C, the Edmonton Oilers. I know Dane's going to like maybe hearing that, going to veteran with the young guys. D, the Vancouver Canucks, which is a very interesting one that I actually looked into with the young guns there. Or with the one that comes after D is E, other. I'll get you guys have an open discussion with this. Justin, you first. We got a couple minutes. So go around, let's get this answer, and then we'll do 3 up, 3 down before we conclude the show. Pavel Datsyuk, where is the magician going to land?
If he's coming back, it's going to be to the Wings. That's it. I don't think it's anywhere else. I think his career was there. His whole, that's what you remember him as a Red Wing. You're not going to, it's like Joe Montana on the Chiefs. No one cares about Joe Montana on the Chiefs. And he won a playoff game for them.
Yeah, they did.
I believe to knock the Colts out of the playoffs at one point in time back in the day. But yeah, no, I think it's the Red Wings, or I think it's not at all.
Dane?
I'm going to disagree with Justin, and I am going to say I think good chance he goes to the Maple Leafs, to be honest. He's going to come back at 40. Why the hell would you want to play for the Detroit Red Wings? What, to not make the playoffs? I think the guy wants to come back to a team to win the Stanley Cup.
Can't win 13, though.
And if he doesn't go to Toronto, he's going somewhere hot. Because he lives in Russia and it's cold there. And I imagine if he's going to come all the way back to North America, he's going to want to, put his feet up on the beach. So maybe somewhere in California. San Jose Sharks is a team that comes to my mind. He's used to playing in the Western Conference with the tough travel. When Detroit was in there, Sin City.
You actually just took that right out of my mouth. I'm going to take it over.
You got to look for other Russian players that are still kind of in the league, too. So, maybe even LA's not out of the realm of possibility, meeting up with Kovalchuk and stuff like that. Maybe he goes to Washington and plays with Ovechkin and Kuznetsov, So, but I like Toronto. I could see that.
You just named a teen amount of teams.
I know. Toronto's my final pick.
So Toronto's your pick. Okay. Believe it or not, I'm not going the Toronto route. Very close. 48% choice for me is Toronto. My option E, I'm going to go with. Okay, and this is going to be interesting. I'm going to go with Vegas. I'm going to say Vegas because the success that they're having. They have good young guys in that locker room. Cody Glass coming up. They have some good young guys. They already have young guys in place. I feel that it's Staston this year, which is a great addition. They will have some cap room still next year. I feel that if they get Datsyuk in there to put some more butts in the seats, they're going to pay him the salary that he wants plus bonuses. I just think it just makes sense for Pavel Datsyuk to go to Las Vegas. As they're close, they got to the Cup final the first year. They're hot this year. They're one of the favorites to get back there this year. In the Western Conference, they had a slow start, but they're getting back up there. They have a team that when he comes back, he can go, hey, this team's made the Cup finals first year. They need a couple guys. Why can't I be that guy to make the change and bring the first Cup ever to Las Vegas? If he wants to. As much as it pains me to say I think the relationship with Babcock is too strong, but as Dane just touched on, the hot weather I think is going to be very attractive to Pavel Datsyuk. Fellas, that's going to wrap it up for our hockey discussion. I'm just going to do a quick 3 up, 3 down with my baseball discussion here. Baseball, we had a couple little occurrences happen. That is the Hall of Fame inductees that occurred in Major League Baseball.
Barry Bonds.
Not in again, but he did get more votes this year.
They're going to wait till 10 years. They're going to keep him sweating until him and Clemens get in there.
Yeah,
they're going to put all the steroid guys in at the same time, guaranteed.
They're going to have to make a choice because you're never going to have guys who have those good numbers down the road, but obviously we know why that happened. But he got better votes this year going forward, but Roy Halladay gets in. Obviously very big, obviously a decision that had to happen. One of the top pitchers to play the game, and obviously a longtime Blue Jay gets into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Almost said Hockey Hall of Fame there. But Mike Messina is another guy who got inducted, and obviously Edgar Rodriguez gets in. But most notably, Mariano Rivera was a unanimous choice, the first unanimous choice for the best closer to ever play the game. Gets into the Baseball Hall of Fame. So I'm just going to say, all in general here, great inductees. Bonds doesn't get in. There's a lot of good talent that was definitely available for baseball this year. A lot of names that could have went into that, but the right players, I think, actually got chosen for this one. And Mariano Rivera, Dane, you have to say that's agreed, right? The unanimous decision, you can't disagree with that.
I would say he's probably the best closer that ever played the game. It's up there, anywhere. I can't really think of anybody else that comes to mind for the longevity that he played too. He was consistent over the years and never threw out his arm. Played until he was 40, 41, something like that. So yeah, well deserved.
Definitely Yankee. Was he there, and definitely a legend in the terms of baseball. All other names, the balloting was Harold Barnes, Lee Smith, along with Rivera, Halladay, Martinez. Edgar Martinez and Mike Mussina get into there. And like I said, Mariano unanimous, Roy Halladay and Edgar and Mike Mussina, with Harold Baines and Lee Smith as well. Just the right choices for the 2019 Baseball Hall of Fame in general. Now, in terms of news. In terms of baseball, the Chicago Cubs agreed to a terms with Brad Beck, former reliever for the Baltimore Orioles. The old setup man for Zach Britton, the Cubs bolstering that bullpen. A.J. Pollock and the Dodgers agreed to a new contract as well. A.J. Pollock going over to L.A. L.A. is trying to get some money into there, get in those teams. I don't know if L.A. is going to be in the Harper sweepstakes any longer due to this move by the Dodgers, but it seems like he is going to sign a contract, and it's going to be finalized today with the Los Angeles Dodgers there, who are pretty keen on trying to get back to the World Series next season. Now you have Bryce Harper as the Phillies and the Nationals as the clear favorites apparently to sign him, and as we've said since the start, guaranteed he's probably going to end up back in Washington. Philadelphia is definitely making a good run for it, but however, Bryce Harper still holding off as he has been, along with Manny Machado. Manny Machado, who is still holding out, has been rumored to go to the White Sox, been rumored to go to any team in baseball right now. It seems like, it's what it seems like. Everyone thought it was a Yankee bound. I don't think that's happening. I think Manny Machado is going to actually end up with the White Sox and with Chicago, and I think the Bryce Harper is going to end up back with the Nationals, and the poor Phils are going to be kind of left out to dry, but the Phils will still make a splash as they have some good young guys there, and they're ready to make a World Series run. And there's still a lot of good names that are out there and available. Mike Moustakas, who's apparently rumored to go back to the Royals. I feel like maybe if the Phillies need to get some more guys, they might go that road and make some adjustments in their infield. And also, you have some pitchers available, like Dallas Keuchel, who's been approached by the Phillies. There's Los Angeles Angels who've been involved in that. The Phillies can still make a splash and be a very effective ball club next year. Now, lastly, I'll say out for my main third point for Rumors of Baseball, talking about the Blue Jays, people saying about the desires of why not throw money at Harper and Machado. Put them in the middle of Vlad Jr. and Bo Bichette, and let's just stack a team and try to contend against the Red Sox and the Yankees. No, absolute nonsense. What this team needs is a bullpen and some pitching, and to really give those prospects a chance. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see Bryce Harper in a Blue Jay uniform, but it's not going to happen. Bryce Harper will either be a national or a national by I think of the end of next week.
I don't think the Jays have $600 million to give two players over the next 10 years. But
No. You know, they got to be very happy because one point they want to bring up with this 3-up, 3-down point. Vlad Jr. named the number one prospect in baseball. Bo Bichette named 8th. Very exciting times despite the trades that we made. We got rid of all these prospects. Hey, those guys that we moved, it's actually working out. And bringing in Danny Jansen with the trade before, it worked out. With Alex Anthopoulos, everything worked out in the end. We got some good prospects coming up. This team is going to be good in the next 3 years.
There's only one we traded away that hurts. Noah Syndergaard.
That is one that will be everlasting, and it very hurts that you brought it up. The Thor was traded to the Mets for fucking R.A. Dickey.
Other than that, really good trades.
Who would have thought and said, 38-year-old R.A. Dickey for 20-year-old Noah Syndergaard?
He was the guy we needed for the time, man. You know,
knuckleball in a
became very close to going to the
knuckleball in a ball field that has a dome.
Well, yeah, that's dumb.
Okay, even you and I, who are not baseball analytics, we're sports guys, that can tell you that R.A. Dickey was a stupid decision. And they had rumors to get Madison Bumgarner that year, but we're not going to get into that since another time.
Only going 60 miles an hour. Yeah, the wind is.
Wind's not it's not really going to help that one. But fellas, that's going to wrap up our show here that wraps up our 3-up, 3-down. I want to give a quick thumbs up though to Adrian Beltre, who's making some appearances of commercials and doing things, retiring from the game of baseball. You know, it's definitely like to see him into. I would have loved to see him obviously get a win on his way out, but not obviously with Texas. And one of the best leaders to ever play the game in terms of baseball, in my opinion, as well, is Adrian Beltre. So I want to give him a quick little shout out there. So that'll be my 3-up, 3-down of baseball, my little thumbs up in the world of baseball. I want to say thank you to Scott Nason, our board operator here tonight. I want to say thank you to Dane and Justin for coming on by. Dane, I got a hockey game in 25 minutes at the Rankin, but I will see you later, and also hopefully see you Sunday, and also we'll see you here next week at Northern Superior.
Yeah, that's affirmative. I'll be here for all those, and good luck at puck tonight. Justin, again, back-to-back nights for you. Thanks for coming out to Northern, and we'll see you maybe Sunday. If not, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, if we're doing it Sunday, I'll be there. It's not like there's anything going on. We got some hot and heavy Pro Bowl action this weekend.
Don't forget the local games as well. We're going to be covering the Sault Ste. Greyhounds as they play this week. Saturday and Sunday. But Peterborough Saturday, Kitchener on Sunday. The Game Sports Show will for sure be there on Sunday at Kitchener. We'll have a representative there on Saturday for coverage as well. But our main coverage will be on Sunday in terms of the whole weekend roundup from the GFL Memorial Gardens and IceBreakers Sports Bar and Grill, powered by Northern Superior Brewing Company. Next week, we'll have a show at the Wicked Sister Monday, 6 to 8, Sports Center at 9, Northern at 7 o'clock next week, and at IceBreakers next week. But also, can't forget, the week's not done. We have IceBreakers this upcoming Sunday at 8 o'clock. I want to say thank you again to you, the listeners, for coming on by. Thank you to Northern Superior Brewing Company for the great hospitality, and to Blake Winter, as always, here at Northern. And listeners, until next time, make sure to keep your stick on the ice, swing your bat, catch your touchdown, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.